Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Deez, this is my workshop, and today we're going to get on with a simple little project, but it should be a fun one. Today's project is going to be a Vise stop. It's going to be a very simple design. I've seen a bunch of these out there, different channels, people make their own, you can buy these things. But basically what it is just a little clamp that will go on the vise jaws that protrude above the actual vise itself, and have a couple set screws to clamp it down. And the benefit of this will be that you can clamp down, it's just a stop, right? So you can clamp down your stop so that when you put your materials in, you flip it over to do another operation, or if you're making 2 or 3 parts of the same, you always have that same stop repeatability. It just kind of speeds things along, makes it a little easier when you're working on things. I'm going to use this chunk of aluminum that I have left. I'm going to make 2 of these. One of them is going to be for the new aluminum soft jaws that I created. So it's going to be a little bit bigger. And the other one is going to be for the steel jaws that came with it. And that one's going to be, the dimensions will be smaller. Those are smaller jaws. So I'm going to cut this thing in half and draw up the aluminum soft jaw version first. We're going to make that one first. If there's any mistakes, we can modify the plan. If there's anything that doesn't work and we want to change it up, we can. But I can get 2 of these, I think, out of this chunk of aluminum and not waste anything. So with that, I'm going to draw up a basic design for the aluminum soft jaws, start getting some dimensions, some measurements, and we'll just get started with this project. So this piece of stock is just over 2 inches. So it'll be 1 inch wide for each piece. So we'll get that cut down. And this is going to be our basic design. So from here to here will be a 1 inch. The total height will be about 1 inch. These are not critical dimensions here. So 1 inch wide, 1 inch tall. What is critical is I need to be under 5/8 inches for the relief portion that will actually mount over the jaws. So if my soft jaw is like this, it'll mount over the top. So I can't go any further than 5/8 because then it will hit the top of the soft jaw, or the movable plate on the vise. So I'm going to go under 5/8. So I'm going to get to 5/8 and then we'll shave some more off. That's for this side. So there will be, if you imagine, this is where the vise plate will be. This side doesn't matter. It could go as far as I want. Now what would matter is if I'm trying to bring something up higher. So I probably should make this much shorter so that it's not going to interfere with, like something like way up here, just a hook more or less. And I'll probably do that and adjust that as I start doing some measuring with my parallels and different things like that. So we're going to end up with just a simple U-shaped piece of stock, and we're going to mill it out and get started with this project. right, I think we're ready to get started. First thing I'm going to do is square up those blocks. I'm going to square both of them up because I'll be working on that anyway, so I might as well do both of them while I'm at it. And we'll get them both in there, square them up, and just get them all going. Alright, got my safety glasses. We're going to get started. We're just going to face this off. I had to take the shield off because it's interfering with some of my work. And we're just going to mill this top flat, and then we'll flip it over and we'll just start squaring off our product. Alright, so a lot of that footage you just saw was for squaring up these two blocks. And I thought I'll go ahead and get them squared up together and finish that. They're pretty good here. Mill does a good job. I didn't bother going any further. There's a little low spot there, but it doesn't matter for what we're doing. And because we're going to mill out this material in here on both of these for each of the jaw sets that we have. So the next thing we need to do is figure out the layout for this portion here on one of these. I'm going to set one of these aside because it'll be for the steel soft jaws. It's going to be different dimensions, and these will be shorter. These legs here will be shorter for the steel jaws. But one of these is ready to go. Let's keep going. The next thing I think we're going to do is kind of mount it up like this and start removing the material that's going to form the U. Turned out pretty good. I knocked down the edges with the file too. Okay, let's get on with it. All right, we're going to scribe this out. I've got it marked up. If you remember from the drawing, 5/8, if you can imagine the soft jaw being like this, the maximum height, so that it clears the back portion of the vise jaw that moves back and forth, can be 5/8. So I'm going to make it deeper than that. So just kind of measuring here. We got our 5/8 down here. I'm just going to go on up to 11/16. That'll give me a 16th clearance, and that should be fine. So if you imagine, I'm doing this upside down. So the portion that I'm working to mill out, let's see, I want this to be the bottom. So this will be the bottom. So we're just going to scribe a line there. That'll be the depth that I want to go. So it'll sit in the vise like this, so I can work down towards that scribed line. So it'll sit like this once it's done. So my screw holes will be back here. You know, something like this. They'll be probably lower than that, but just to keep myself honest, this will be the top, and then this is the bottom. This will all be milled out. I'll have two flats over here. So now I need to decide how, let's see, 15/16 is how thick my jaws are. Let me double check that. So it's actually 57/64, which is closer to 7/8, but I need some space. I don't want these so tight that I can't use them. So I'm going to go up to 15/16. So what we're looking for is about a gap of 15/16, which is 0.9375 thou. So what I did was I took the total length of this, which is 1.630. I subtracted my 0.9375, and that gave me the remaining material, which is this plus this. So I divided, which is 0.6925. I divided that by 2, and that gives me 0.34625. So I rounded that up to 0.346. And I made my marks, and everything in between is going to come out. So that's how I came up with this pattern. I'm going to mount this in the lathe or the mill like this so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to take advantage of the DRO as well, just to get my distances correct and take out the material I need. So really, I'm just gonna work my way back and forth and mill out all of this material. Once that's done, this back side will need tapped and died, but now that I'm thinking about it, I've got all this support material in here. I should probably do that first. So let me figure out where I'm gonna tap and die, drill and tap my holes here. I wanna do that next. I think that would be a smarter operation, and then we'll mill all this stuff out once that's done. So we'll get set up in the mill. All right, I'm gonna get my drill bit in here, and then we'll drill that down so that we can tap those. All right, so I'm getting ready to tap this, and you know, I know what I've kind of figured it out over the last year and a half, 2 years, but I thought I'd share with how I figure this stuff out. There's probably a better way or a proper way, a classroom style way to figure out your taps and dies and drill sizes and all that, but I'll just walk you through how I do it. The first thing I do is I decide the project, what kind of a screw or size do I want for the project. Well, in this case, I'm just going to go to my little assortment, and I chose one that's going to fit the bill, something I have in hand, in possession. And I chose to go with the number 24, 1024, they're 1/2 inch long. That's the cap head screws I'm going to go with. So I've already got those out, but they're 1024s. That's the important thing for the next step. So the next step is I come over here to my tap and die set, and I look for the 10, see the empty slot there, 1024. So that's the tap that I need. But in addition, I just do a little extra verification. Here's the 1024 die. So oftentimes I'll take this, and let me set you up here, and I'll just confirm it with the screws that I'm going to use. I'll just kind of barely screw it in there and just make sure I'm on the right track, and I am. So we're good there. So 1024 for sure. That's what I want. So what do I do next? I come over here. I've got my screws. I know I need a 1024. That's what I need to tap for. So I come over here to my trusty stare at tap and die chart. Tap drill sizes, really handy. And I come down here, and you see we got tap sizes, decimal equivalents, drill size. So how you read this is you can go to your decimal equivalent, right? The size. Well, before we get to that, the tap size we know is 1024. So let's start there. 1024, we bring you down. So we find our 1024, it's right here. So if I had the proper drill for this, if I had a full size set, I would come over here, I would get a number 25 drill. I don't have number sizes like that. There's your decimal equivalent, but that doesn't help me much. I just have your standard 29 piece, or you know, just one of those larger size fractional drill sizes. So what I usually do is come over here and I go between the two fractional drill sizes. In this case, I don't want it to be too loose. So again, we have our 1024. I don't have a 25. Since I'm working with aluminum, I should be able to tap it fine. I'm going to start with the 9/64 drill bit. So now I know what drill I need to start with to start my tap for the 1024. So we come back over here to my crappy drill set, and we find the 9/64, and that would be this one here. So we get this mounted up in the mill, and we drill our holes the depth that we need, and then we should be able to tap them. So I just wanted to walk you through that process, just to say how, show you how I figure out my tap size, the drills that I need for that, and that's just kind of seems to work for me just fine. All right, I've got everything in order that I want, and what we're going to do is bring this down 875 thou depth of cut. I'm going to use the DRO that's attached to the quill, and then we'll come over 321 thou, and that should line me up to my other dimple, the hole, and again another 875 thou, and that'll give me plenty of depth for my tap, and we can get working on that. So let me get my glasses on and we'll get these drilled. We got that first hole drilled. So now we should bring this over with my x-axis 321 thou. Let me clear that. So I'm going to bring this over 321 thou. That should be right up with that other dimple. Right there. That's it. That will do. So now we've got our holes drilled. It's time to tap those. Now, many of you have said you need a tap follower and all this and that. These taps that I have, I'm sure they make a tap follower that has an inverted point, but all my taps are pointed. Some of them, there's no dimples in the flat ones, so you couldn't use a tap follower on these things. Anyway, I know several of you have commented that the solution is for me to get a proper tap die set. I got some good dies, but still working with what I got on the tap. So anyway, I'm not going to take this out. What I'm going to do is get this lined up. I will use the quill to kind of center everything up, but I'm going to go ahead and tap these two holes. So this can be my setup to get my tap started. I'm going to use the drill chuck for now against the flat portion of the die holder, tap holder, and we're just going to get it started, and it'll be fine for what this project is. I'm going to use, I like this stuff, I'm going to use a little bit of this. Drill hog, and get this guy started. All right, we got our 2 holes drilled here, and had a little mishap. I broke a tap in the other one, so when we do a recap, I'll explain all that. I switched gears here a little bit. This channel's all about learning mistakes. I don't like to hide my mistakes. I like to show everything. So I broke a tap. We'll review that in a little bit, but onward we go. So I went ahead and drilled out the holes on this other. We're going to go with M6 cap head screws, and rather than try to tap through, you know, all this to a blind hole, I'm going to go ahead and mill out the material I don't need, and then I'm going to tap just the short portion of that. So let's get started here. First thing I want to do is get this chuck back out of here. Loosen that up. Give her a tap. That'll come right out of there. Okay. I'm going to go back to my 3/8 collet for my end mill. This is end mill. Okay, we got to take our part out. I want to get some larger parallels in here. Let's just get started. Hopefully this doesn't become a problem. All right, let's see if I can't get you some close-ups here. All right, we got kind of things cleaned up. I'm going to start trying to tap this best I can. I don't have a tap follower, so I'm just using some of that drill hog tap lubrication. And we're going to tap this down. Again, these are just set screws. They're not, you know, they don't need to be too crazy. But I do want them to work. Anyway, let me get these tapped and I'll bring you over to the bench and we'll do a summary. This one, again, I'm stepping up my comfort level with the mill and trying new things. And you know, there's a lot of things to plan out when you're making even a really simple small part. And I clearly need a lot of practice, but I had a success and I had a failure, although I'm not completely happy with my success. It will work. So what did we do? We made a vise stop for my aluminum soft jaws. This is only going to be for that, the dimensions and that. Some things, you know, mistakes were made. First we'll get to the tap. Broke a tap in my first piece. My idea was to just drill down and then tap it and then come back and mill this later, so it was kind of nice and clean. I still would have liked to do that, but it's a blind hole and you got chips in there. Anyway, I got to pushing, tweaking on this tap. This is my fault. They're crappy taps, but it's my fault. I was pushing on it to kind of try to realign it. And I ended up snapping it off. It's not in there terribly far. This piece is, you know, I could cut it off and still use this piece, but you know, I tried to drill it. You can't drill into a tap to use an easy out or something. I don't know how to get that out of there. If I can get that out of there, I can salvage this part and actually use it for the steel jaws. So I don't know, I'm gonna think about this overnight. That'll be a different project, different day, different video. But failure, broke a tap. But I like to share my failures because I'm learning. All this is me learning and having fun in the garage. It's frustrating to break a tap, but it's bound to happen. It happens to everybody. And I don't want to edit all that out and pretend like it never happened. It happened. It's going to happen to you. So, anyway, I was making 2 of them anyway. So, I went ahead and forged on and decided I'm going to go ahead and finish one for the aluminum soft jaws. You just seen a clip with me mounting it in there. Because of, I just totally bought, these are too large of cap head screws. I do have an idea. All right, I've got a workaround. This could work too. I'll probably, because I ended up drilling those holes too close together. I just didn't want to have them too far on the outside of this piece. I probably should have just made this whole thing wider anyway. But what do I have? I've got some set screws that are M6. So I think I'll just go with these. There we go. So I can get those in there. And then they won't rub against each other on the heads. So we'll just get those put in there. There's a workaround. But again, I'm not real happy with this piece. But all this is about learning. You know, I'm learning how to mill out some decent sized material out of a part, square it up again. You know, that's something I'm still working with. It is very smooth. You can see the mill tooling marks, but overall, it turned out like I drew, like I intended. The only thing I messed up on was I used the DRO. I don't know what happened there. I screwed that up. These are just way off center. But anyway, it turned out like I intended. I got my screws. I got the space, and it actually fits on the jaws. So this is a usable part. I made a tool today for the mill, and I know I'm going to use this. I have a successful Vise jaw stop. So hopefully you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Hope you learned from my mistakes, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.